and we can hopefully keep it going.
That's immensely seen.
But I mean, what we want to do, what real escalation would be if we want to strike the pockets. It's not been Trent Park, it's not been this building, it's always been hanging. They can let us have it. So I mean, the escalation has to really be reconceptualized. But this has to mean that Tuesday night we had one room, Wednesday night we had the campus, and by the weekend we have this. So escalation is a constant in this mode of thinking, and I think we've been quite successful. On the point of on Alex's point about proletarianization a bit earlier on, I think what you also have is you have creation, and also about the point about the we, right? The point that there has been a creation of a subject, personified in a way by New Labour, more than anyone else, and Tony Blair, and now Cameron in particular, in the way that you just have this this creation of a subject, but if you believe in anything, you are dangerous, right? So when you have this professionalization of the Mondeo man and the Worcester woman, to use Blair's terms, that you have these very normal people who have very normal jobs, and anyone who disrupts that, disrupts them and is a personal grievance to them. And that is the enemy that is being created. And they are, I mean, get involved in student activism in less radical department, and you'll realize that there was a whole generation rising up with the aspirations of the Tony Blairs, the careerist aspirations, that all they view outside is a blockade to their aspirations. And it's an incredible, it's an incredible evolution in a defense mechanism that has been proliferated in recent times. That, I mean, Adam Curtis's Power of Nightmares, I think, and Carpentry, I don't know if anyone's seen it, where he basically says that once you come to this, once you have all of these kind of antagonistic elements, you manage to pacify a population to such an extent that after anything that represents a change becomes dangerous. And that is the opposition we face in no uncertain time.
Before we go on, maybe people are standing up, do you want to take a second and there's some chairs, or one or two here? There's three actually.
People talk about escalations and all that kind of stuff.
Just wait for a second so people will start.
Yeah, sure. But you should never underestimate just, not necessarily escalations, but rather surprise. I mean, there was an occupation of moved from room to room at some point, so the management had no idea what was actually going on. And to be unpredictable is as important as just escalation. We don't need to make it bigger, we just move the occupation places if we want. We can move our resources to different places so the management has no idea what's actually going on. And that's what could really terrify them. Because by limiting ourselves to just one place and making it clear this is what we're doing, that could actually become a bad strategy just to escalate. But rather we could go different places, do a lot of different things, and they would have no idea what we're doing.
If you were vanished in the middle of the night, you would freak them out.
Also, because you asked how much time is that, I think the next point was we wanted to have some kind of meeting, an inclusive meeting with everyone who has come and joined us today. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, in between those two, we're going to do a meeting with the timetable.
People need to eat.
Yeah. Okay, but still one point. So yeah, just one point probably to connect maybe some of the threads that we were talking about to attempt to do this from my perspective at least. When we speak of the question of escalation or strategy, I mean, you know, it was clear for most of us, for all of us here, that the campaign to save Middlesex philosophy was a large campaign with many different elements, with many different layers, one of which was the occupation, which was one strategy or one response inside the campaign, which includes an international campaign and various other parts, the petitions and so on, and the mobilization and so on. So when we speak of strategy, what Johan just mentioned, yes, the university has open days in coming up soon, which would be I think the ideal place for situationist interventions of sorts. Yeah, to change, and that would change many things. But still, and there are certainly many different possibilities open. But still, one thing that I would like to argue against, very strongly, is the idea that you can only change something by hurting someone in their pockets. And that's I think it's simply, and there we come to the theory of, we come to the problem of radical thought and Marxism. Yeah? Because there's a difference between Marxism and Marx and Marxian thought. Because when we speak of the idea that the only actual change, the only real change, the only thing that really matters is economic effect or the pocket, otherwise nothing else will change, nothing else changes in the world except you change something money-wise, yeah? Then it's just this reverse of the economism of neoliberalism, yeah? And it is a reverse of the economism of neoliberalism, which is based on a very vulgar reading, really, of, sorry I have to be so blunt, but that's what I feel strongly about, of Marx. Which speaks of a superstructure which is somehow secondary, which doesn't really change things, which is just a mirror or an image, yeah, which has nothing really to say, where all of these other things happen, where people imagine things or will things, or yeah. What really matters is what happens in people's mind. And I don't think that this is a tradition of Marxism, or this is a type of Marxism that can help us understand the complexities of this situation or the complexities of any other situation out there. Yeah?
Sorry? No, I was going to respond to something you said about Mondeo Man or school and work. I think we should be careful not to separate ourselves as we're the radical philosophers, so that's why we ended up occupying this building. I think that's a really dangerous way to go forward. I think from the time when we had the meeting, we could very easily have not occupied this building. We could have done all sorts of different things or not done anything at all. And I think it's like through the process of something like this happening to you, then you become, you realise that you can take it a step further all the time. And I think that's what we've seen in this occupation, is that each day we realise, we can go a little bit further, And I don't think it's just a case of there being a lot of students who really don't care at all. I mean, like I've talked to students who have nothing to do with the philosophy department, even though initially they were a bit like, why are you doing that? And then once I start talking, they think, oh yeah, that's really bad, and oh great, can we just have a look, and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think we should separate ourselves off as these, like, as this sort of elite group of people who really, really think about these things, so we're able to do it. I think it's really dangerous to think like that.
I think this is precisely what I think people have misread what Mark was saying about escalation, as if it was some exclusionary kind of move. I didn't understand him as saying that. I think escalation was precisely the opposite. It was reaching out. It was not staying within these four walls. And people seem to have misread it as something that it completely wasn't. It was precisely trying to include and make connection with as many different people as you can, not just thinking that these four walls are what it's all about. And I think that's the move it should go towards, I think.
Two points. First of all, I agree very much with what you said. You see, I don't think that this is just, I mean, what you're doing is magnificent, but it isn't just like an isolated kind of vanguard of enlightened student radicalism among a sea of kind of Blairite, self-advancement. What we've seen in the last couple of years is a real revival of student activism. I mean, there's been talk about various other occupations, like very important workers' occupations last year. But at the beginning of last year, there was a wave of student occupations in solidarity with the Palestinians being faced with the obscene attacks by Israel on Gaza. And I think that's where I date the beginning of a new student activism. This just last semester there was a very significant student occupation at Sussex. So something is changing in universities, and you're part of that, and it's very important to understand that. Secondly, I didn't really understand what Vijay was saying, because I don't see, if, he said this is a caricature of Marx. Well, I'm not sure what the point is of criticising a caricature of Marx. I think that the critical thing is that you're involved in a struggle, and you're trying to force the management of the university to do something that they don't want to do. They decided to close down philosophy at Middlesex. The only way in which they're going to change that is if they're forced, and therefore you need to think about different ways of forcing them. And that doesn't just mean hitting them in their pockets, and I'm not clear in any case what that